Hey, what's up YouTube? Okay, got a video for you guys here, and this is basically a video response to Raw Doglet. He did a vid, Global Collapse Planning Series Part 1, and he was emphasizing that people stock up on seeds and be prepared to grow their own food for survival. Now, while I agree with a lot of what he said in the video, I put up a comment where I said growing your own food to survive on is not realistic for most people. And he went ahead and posted a video response to that comment, and let's just say it was a passionate video. So this is sort of a response to both of those videos. Alright, let's jump right into it. Now, first off, taking my comment for exactly what I said, growing your own food to survive on is not realistic for most people. Well, 80% of the population in the USA lives in urban areas, and I believe 60% lives in cities that are over 200,000 people. So on that basis alone, it really doesn't make sense that most people are going to have the ability to grow their own food for survival. So, you know, you take a city like where I'm from, New York City, where it's almost 10 million people now, I believe. There's basically no way that all those people in that little area are going to be able to grow enough food to sustain themselves. Now, you could debate whether people could, you know, rip up the concrete, get back to the soil, or if they could do some sort of crazy hydroponic stuff on the roof. And, you know, there might be some feasibility to all that as a societal solution, but as a SHTF solution, I don't see that happening. You know, there's just too many things involved, and I just don't see that as a viable solution to, you know, the bulk of the population under those conditions. Now, beyond that, let's talk about growing your own food. First off, it's not easy. Okay, you don't just get seeds, throw them in the ground, and then boom, you have this great bounty of food to partake of. That's not how it works. You know, you have your basic obvious issues like climate and soil, and then of course you can get into the underlying science of agriculture, and you know, you're talking like soil pH and the nutrients and all this, you know, crazy complicated stuff. So growing vegetables and food is definitely not easy. And there's a big difference between hobby gardening and actually growing food to survive on. And there's also a difference between growing food as your primary source to survive on, or just growing some side vegetables to complement your canned goods or something like that. And you know, basically what I was referring to in the comment was the ability for people to actually grow enough food to survive on, and not have to rely on other sources of food, be it stocked goods or whatever. And again, I just don't see that that's going to be realistic for a lot of people. Growing your food is a ton of work. It's just a lot of work. It's not something where you throw seeds into the ground and do some minimal stuff and then forget about it. You have to be out there all the time, you know, working on them, paying attention, and you have to have the knowledge. You know, again, it's a super complex thing. Certain things grow good together, certain things don't grow good together. You know, certain things need less light, more light. Very, very, very complicated, way more than what most people think, especially city people. If you want to see real people growing food, check out a couple users online like Centerville TN or Praxis 55712, and you know, you'll see some people, and there's, you know, of course a bunch of others. You'll see some people who really are growing food, and you can pick their brain and talk to them, and you can gauge what it's going to be like to undertake that. Also, I recently came across this channel, SustenanceNCovering, and I'm going to drop a link to a specific vid that he put out. Let's see, I have the title here. sustainable survival food. And he makes some really interesting points in this video and some really interesting claims. And I don't quite know if they're all true. I haven't had time to research all of it yet, but I definitely advise everybody who's thinking about growing their own food and stuff to go check this vid out. Very, very interesting vid. So basically, yeah, I mean, that's it. It's just, you know, like I also told him in a follow-up comment, I think if a lot of people are thinking they're just going to invest in seeds, put them in the closet, and then when they need to go out and start planting food and survive, I think we're going to have a lot of dead people. You know, there's farmers that have generations of knowledge, and they farm and they produce their food and bring it to market, and there's a reason why they have succeeded while other farmers have not, you know, to become really good at what they do. It's because they really know what they're doing. And it's sort of like any other skill or any other thing that you do in life. If you really know what you're doing and you're good at it, you're going to do well at it. You know, it's just like if you go out and if you buy right now, if you go out tonight and you buy a big welder and a bunch of welding equipment, you're not going to be an expert welder tomorrow. Or if you go out and you buy a bunch of paint and some canvas, you're not going to be a good painter tomorrow. It takes time to cultivate, you know, what you're doing and to be able to do it to an adequate degree. And again, in the idea of food, when your survival is at stake, you know, you don't have time to make mistakes. And I'll give you a perfect case in point. I planted a crap load of potato plants this past season. Probably, I'm going to say 2 dozen to 3 dozen potato plants. And they were all doing great, 3+ feet high, looked fantastic. And I actually had to go away for a couple days, and I came back, and they all got decimated, totally destroyed by slugs. Who would have knew that where I am now has like a slug issue? In other places, you might not have that issue at all. But anyway, all my potatoes basically got wiped out, and I got a really small pittance of tiny potatoes. Now, if I needed to survive on that, I would, and in the best case, go hungry, or in the worst case, starve and die. So, you know, there's no room for error in a SHTF if you're solely relying on planting stuff to survive. Okay, another major factor in growing your own food is where you're physically located within the United States. So if you're down south, you're going to have a warmer climate, and you're going to have a longer growing season, and you're going to have, you know, more options as to what you can grow. But if you're up north, like I am, upstate New York, I have basically like a 4-month growing season. And of course, you know, I'm not growing no bananas up here or any oranges or anything like that. So, and you know, there's people further up north than I am, or people in higher altitudes. So that's a major factor. And sure, you know, you don't need oranges and bananas to survive on, but you know, you have to know what you can grow where you are. A lot of people just don't even know that. And you know, another thing is, let's say tomatoes grow where I am, but there are a lot of strains or breeds of tomatoes that won't. So, you know, you have to not only know what's going to grow, but, you know, what varieties of that are going to grow and flourish. Or, you know, if you plant a whole bunch of tomatoes and they just come up and they barely survive and they're really small, you know, that's not going to help you out. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, the settlers came and they did it, and they were able to plant and grow stuff and survive. But you know, you cannot compare the settlers to people today, especially the masses of today, because we're just too far removed from that lifestyle, from that knowledge, and you know, there's just no way. You take any people from today, and you know, a good portion of them over time could convert back to, you know, that kind of mindset and that kind of the ability to survive on that. But you know, to throw them in it quick and to expect for them to be able to survive, you know, in a SHTF, it's just not going to happen. They won't acclimate that quick. So that's my take on that. I think that's basically it. I think I covered all the major points, and you know, that's my argument for trying to grow your own food in the SHTF. I 100% advocate everybody doing it, everybody buying seeds and, you know, start now growing stuff, whatever you can, and, you know, be prepared to grow stuff if things do happen. But I just don't think that the majority of people are going to be able to rely on growing their own food for survival. To me, I just don't see that happening. Last quick point, I know this video is getting long. Raw Doglet also mentioned ammo being good for bartering. And I mainly disagree on this point as well, only because ammo would be good to trade with people that you know in your immediate community. But, you know, ammo, you know, is directly related to, let's say, warfare and combat, and the last thing that you want to do is arm your enemy. So, you know, if you don't know who you're giving your ammo to in a barter, or if you don't know who they're selling it to in turn, you know, that could be very dangerous to, you know, basically be giving someone that's a potential threat, literally ammunition to use against you. So that's my thought on that. Hope this helped. Hope it wasn't too long, and that's it for now. Later, YouTube.